Hello, this is the Week 1 Excel lesson for Chapters 1 and 2. In this lesson we're going to discuss some of the bare-bone basics of working with Excel. Now when we use Excel in these lessons, I'm going to be using Excel 2010 for the PC. Your version may be slightly different, but there shouldn't be any significant difference. And also Mac should work the same basic way as PCs. So when you open Excel, you should get something that looks kind of like this. Now what you see up here at the top is called the ribbons, and your ribbons may look a little different depending on how you're formatted, but they should contain the same basic information. What you see here on the screen is a collection of cells, and a group of cells is called a worksheet. And you see down here at the bottom, Sheet 1, Sheet 2, Sheet 3. These are different worksheets. Now we can change the names of these worksheets by just right-clicking and click Rename, and then you can type whatever you want. So for instance, when you do your homework, you're going to work each problem on an Excel worksheet, and you're going to title it with the name. So we might title this one, say, Chapter 1, number 1 or something like that. Okay? And so then we'd work our work here, and then we could rename the second worksheet as maybe Chapter 2 or Chapter 1, number 2. And so you can, and then if you need to add more worksheets, you can do a right click and insert a new worksheet, and you can put as many worksheets as you want. Now a collection of worksheets is called a workbook. So when you go up here to File and Save As, and then you can title it whatever you want, maybe Chapter 1 Homework, Chapter 1 Homework. You see you're saving it as a type Excel workbook, and then you can save it wherever you want. And when you turn in your homework, you're going to turn in an Excel workbook that contains many different worksheets. Okay. So let's talk about some of the basics of using a worksheet. So again, each one of these little rectangles is what we call a cell, and cells are referenced by their column and row number. So for instance, this cell right here is cell A1. You see its name right here in the name box. This is cell B2, and so on and so forth. We can talk about a range of cells, like if I highlight a range here, and a range is referenced by the cell in the upper left corner and then the cell in the lower right corner. So this would be the range B2 to D5. In cells we can enter numbers, we can enter formulas, we can enter text, we can enter whatever we want. We see up here in this box, this is what we call the formula bar. So for instance, if I want to enter something here in cell A1, I can click on cell A1, and then I can start typing something here. So maybe I want to title this cell Data. So I see the formula, or what I typed there, also appears in the formula bar. When I hit enter, that cell has been entered. If we want to clear out a cell, we can just click on that cell, hit delete, and it's all gone. Okay. So for instance, to illustrate how to use this, we're going to enter the data in table 1.1 from chapter 1 of the Excel workbook. This table is titled Data from the Study of 5 Participants, and this contains 5 different columns of data. And so the first column is called Subject Identification Number, so let's just call it Subject ID. And then we'll hit over to go to the next cell, and the next column is Age, and then Sex, and then Weight, and then Height. And then I can start to enter the data. So the subject ID is just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the age, will enter those ages 24, 21, 32, 27, 25. Sex is female, female, male, male, male. And then the weights are 125, 140, 165, 170, 195. And then the heights are in inches 63, 68, 68, 72, and 71. Okay, so once we've got the data entered, we might want to format our table here to make it look a little bit nicer. And so we can highlight a range of cells like this, and maybe I want to make them bold, so I can click bold. Maybe I want to center them. Now if we look at this column A, you notice that it's a little bit too narrow, and so I can left click on the right edge like this and drag it to however wide I want, or if I just do a double click, that's going to automatically format the width so that everything fits nicely. If I want to center everything, I'll just highlight that whole range and hit center. And so we can also do some other formatting. If we click on the cells that we want and do a right click, go to Format Cells, we can do things like borders. We can give them borders, or we could color them different things. Maybe I want to color that yellow or whatever. Lots of different formatting that we can do. So I'm going to undo those changes there and just leave the standard formatting. Okay. Now let's do a little bit of calculations here. So suppose that we want to enter a column here that calculates the person's age in month. So let's title a column here Age in Months. Okay. And we see that's automatically formatted to bold. We'll change the width there. So to calculate the age in months, we simply need to take the age in years times 12. So we'll enter a formula there with an equal sign, and then we'll go 12 times, and then we'll click on that cell containing the age, and then we'll hit enter. And so we'll see that automatically calculates the age in months. Okay. Now, for this first person anyways. Now to get the age for the second person, I don't need to retype that cell. What I can do is just do a right click, or a left click, excuse me, and then drag on that little corner, drag it down, and it's going to automatically copy this formula down. But now if we look at this reference here, it does no longer referencing cell B2, it's B3. When I copied that formula down, it changed the reference appropriately. And so that's a nice feature of Excel. Now to get the rest of the ages, I can just drag this down like that, and so there's all my ages and months. I center those so that everything's formatted nicely. Okay, now some simple calculations, other simple calculations we can do is suppose that we want to calculate the average weight. So let's title a cell over here Average, and I'm going to right justify that, highlight it. So to calculate the average, there's a couple of ways I could do this. One thing, I could add up those weights. So let's enter a formula equals, and then I could go the first weight plus the second weight plus the third plus the fourth plus the fifth, and then end parentheses, and then we'll divide by the number of weights, which is 5, and then hit enter, and that calculates the average. Another way to do this is to type the formula equals, and then sum, and then parenthesis, and the Excel automatically recognizes that I'm dealing with the sum function, and so it tells me the syntax of that function. So it's wanting an input of some numbers, and so let's select the range of numbers that I want to add up. We'll do right parenthesis and then divided by 5, and we see that gives me the exact same thing. Another way we could do that is Excel has an average function. So just type in average and then select the numbers that we want to find the average of, in parenthesis, hit enter, and it calculates the average. So there's 3 different ways of calculating the average. Obviously the last one of those was the easiest to use, but it illustrates there's a lot of different ways to do calculations in Excel. One other simple function that we'll talk briefly about is the count function. And so I can use the count function to count the number of numbers in a range. So for instance, if I want to calculate like the number of data values, or let's call it the sample size, is equal to, and again I'm going to right justify this and make it bold. So the sample size in a statistics means the number of data values in a set. And so we're going to enter equals count parenthesis, and then we're going to select this range here, and that's going to count the number of data values in that range, which is 5. Okay. So this is some basic simple formulas that we can use. Now some other options that we can do with Excel, if you click on the Insert ribbon up here, lots of different graphs that we can insert. We'll talk about those later. One thing that we can do is insert a text box. So if you click on that, and then we can draw a box like this, and then we can type whatever text we want in there. And so this is going to be convenient to use when you're doing, say, homework and you just want to make some comments, and so you can draw a text box and then write your comments in there. Another thing that we'll be using later on in the semester is called the Analysis Tool Pack. If you look here in the data ribbon, some of you may have this Analysis Tool Pack installed. If you do, it should be here under Analysis, or in this part of it. Right now there's just a solver, but there's no analysis add-in there. So to add this add-in, we're going to go to the File tab, Options, Add-ins, and then Manage. Click Go, and we're going to click on this Analysis Tool Pack, and then click OK. And now we see there's this Data Analysis option here, and so we click on that, and then we'll have these data analysis tools that we'll use later on in the semester. We won't be using these here in Chapter 1 or 2, but we'll be using later on in the semester.